Honorable Senators. Honorable Senators, before the Senate, you have the CS for Agriculture and former Senator Honorable Mithika Linturi. I do have two questions from Professor Tom Ojenda. Can you get your seat and ask the questions kindly? We start with question number 003. So CS Agriculture and your team will come to the Senate. You are not a stranger in the Senate. So, of course, you know the rules of the game here. So I will ask the owner of the question to ask first question 003. And then if you'll be having any supplementary question, you'll ask later. And also I will allow a few senators also to give their supplementary questions. Professor Tom Ojenda.
Mr. Speaker, sir. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I have two questions. Yes, to the Minister, to the Cabinet Secretary, Agriculture and Livestock Development, the Honorable Linturi. Mr. Speaker, sir, my first question is framed thus: could the Cabinet Secretary confirm the presence of any syndicates involved in the theft of cane at weighbridges while in transit to sugar factories, and indicate the impact of such activities on sugarcane farmers? Secondly, or the second part of the question is, what actions is the government taking to address the issue of theft of cane at weighbridges and the plans by the Cabinet Secretary to compensate sugarcane farmers and hold accountable the persons involved? Mr. Speaker, that is question 003.
Okay, fine.
Can I do the two questions?
No. Let the CS go first answer the first question. CS.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, allow me with tremendous respect, appreciate the Senate of the Republic of Kenya for according me the opportunity to appear before it to answer a question by Professor Ojenda in regard to issues that touch on cane. And Mr. Speaker, I beg to reply as follows. Mr. Speaker, I'm not aware of the existence of syndicates engaged in theft of cane at the weighbridges and buying centers. However, the issues of theft have been detected. However, if issues of theft have been detected, it is important or prudent to report to the relevant authorities for necessary action to be taken. I am in the process of making regulations to provide for the management of weighbridges to ensure fairness in the sugarcane weighing. In regard to Section B of the question, Mr. Speaker, I at the same time want to reply as follows, that I have directed AFA, specifically the Sugar Directorate, to investigate the allegations of the theft of cane and make recommendations for implementation if malpractices have been detected, and at the same time ask those farmers, because theft is criminal. Once any farmer or any farmer's cane is stolen, then of course I would advise that the necessary reports be made to the various law enforcement agencies, and those people will be dealt with properly within the criminal justice system for the concerned parties to really be able to get injustice. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, CS. Senator Tom Ojenda, do you have a supplementary question?
Mr. Speaker, sir, I will prefer to move to the next question, 004.
Professor Ojenda, you know you are a professor and you must really follow.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, sir, let me...
You first wait to really clear this question because you can see there are senators who have supplementary.
Mr. Speaker, I'm
is,
satisfied.
Do you have any supplementary question?
I'm satisfied with the response of the Cabinet Secretary on that question.
That's enough, good enough. So, senators, I don't know whether there is any senator with a supplementary question. There are senators lined up here. Senator Bazi Sheikh Mohammed. Yes, sir. Have a seat with CS.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to ask the CS Agriculture and Livestock that there was a legal notice 1/2016 on livestock development and services. Number 87, signed 2nd June 2016 by the former President, Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta. This legal notice was supposed to actualize what we call the livestock marketing and livestock development and service board. To date, that board has not been actualized, it has not been formalized. I asked the same questions previously and have not got any reply. So with all due respect, I want to ask the Minister, what is the position and why was this legal notice not actualized and not been formalized? Thank you.
Before the CS thinks is fit to answer the question, Honorable Senators, you know as much as practically possible, we are guided that we should be asking a question related to the primary question. Because if you ask a question that is so deep and the CS are not prepared for that particular answer, you see you cannot be able to get that answer now. So, Senators, I will kindly request we try as much as possible to go that line. Let us take that route so that we also don't ask questions that the CS cannot be able to answer forthrightly. But because you have asked, I will ask him, if he doesn't have the answer, of course, maybe your question can be answered at a later date, or you can take it due to the road and due process. So, CS, you can answer the question from Senator Buzz.
Mr. Speaker, I may not have other better ones to communicate to the distinguished senator other than adopt your ones and say that indeed that question is completely different from the matters that are before us and touches completely on a different department. That is the Department of Livestock. And from what the senator is saying, I think it can only be fair for him to give me an opportunity to look at the legal notice. He appreciates this was not done within the time I've been in the ministry, so I may not have interacted with it. And for that matter, I wouldn't mind preparing myself with him asking a more substantive question so that I'm able to respond to the issues that he really wants us as a ministry to address. But I would just want to give him the comfort that the Asaro areas or the livestock keepers of this country is an area that this administration is very keen on. I am currently running a breed improvement program within the Asaro areas to assist the merinders, the farmers to change their breeds. You are aware the leather value chain dairy is a key value chain that the Kenya Kwanza administration is really working on, which is all meant to improving the livelihoods of the livestock keepers. Last week, Mr. Speaker, sir, I was in Isiolo, where I went to really check on the progress of the construction of the Isiolo abattoir, where we are making Isiolo an hub for the hub meat for the region, which is meant to serve 6 counties, with Isiolo, Marsabit, Samburu, so that we are able really to give support to our livestock farmers. So Livestock is an area that is so dear to us as an administration. I would only ask you to really kindly work with us very closely, because we are very keen in improving our breeds so that they're able to give me more milk, they're able to have the ability to handle more weight for purposes of us being able to export quality beef. And within the program that we are running also to grow animal feed, to be able to support our livestock farmers. Your counties are some of the counties that I'm supporting through the 20 and the drive projects that we are running for purposes of making sure that no one is left behind. The livestock keepers and counties in this country are within the framework within our target that is so clear and intentional in changing the livelihoods of everyone from the bottom of the pyramid. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable CS. I will advise that Senator Abbas, maybe you can do your question the normal process so that on record you can get the comprehensive answer. I think that the CS has needed trend also to explain the position at the moment.
I have asked the same questions earlier. I made that statement. To date, I have not received any response. And this thing has been overdue. And then, the Livestock Development and Services Board is a very important board. When every other agricultural product has a marketing board.
Senator, I request that we need to follow up even through our normal office, which handles this process.
I will do that.
So that you can be able to be assisted.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Speaker, if you may indulge me, you've probably, the Senator asked the question that was asked. It has not found its way on my desk. I don't mind him sharing with me, then I can go prepare and come.
Yeah, that's why I said you follow up with the right office so that it can get to you officially. The next is Senator Lenda Molekina.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my supplementary question is specific to why the director, Samuel Ongo, who represents sugarcane farmers, has not been gazetted as a director in AFA. Currently, the sugarcane farmers are not represented in the board. So the question to the Cabinet Secretary, and if he does not have the answer, I'm happy to get the answer in a subsequent visit that he will come. But I believe, him being the Cabinet Secretary, he has the answer.
CS Agriculture.
Mr. Speaker, let me say that I have a duty to give the Senate the true position of issues that this House would require from me, where I'm able to. And because, Mr. Speaker, it is not that I have refused.
Sorry, CS. Senator Manzo, you know I was looking at you keenly. Senator Manzo, you are sitting on the registry, and you cannot just enter the chamber like you are entering a... Don't want to say the next one I want them to use. Okay. Honorable CS, proceed.
So, Mr. Speaker, let me admit that it is true that the gentleman by the name Samuel Onyango Onko was nominated as a member to represent the sugar sector within the board of AFA. And Mr. Speaker, the process of getting to the board of AFA is a long one, and I've never seen any other participatory consultative process than this one. Because we advertise, people apply, they are vetted, they are interviewed, and subsequently names are forwarded to me for appointment. But to cut the story short, Mr. Speaker, that the appointment of Samuel Ongo was a subject matter of judicial review number 045 of 2023. And in this particular case, the courts that time suspended or announced his appointment in the board of WAFA. However, thereafter looking at the issues that the courts raised and recognizing the importance of the membership of a sugar representative in the board of WAFA, I have initiated the processes of making sure I regularize the appointment of Mr. Samuel Ongo to the board. Mr. Speaker, I think it's because when this matter was before court, the Office of the Attorney General was representing the ministry and were properly versed of this matter. And then after the case was done with, and after trying to initiate processes to regularize, just for matters of ensuring that we were in order, I indeed write to the Attorney General of the Republic of Kenya on the 31st of January 2024. This is the normal practice, giving him an update of what we had decided to do as a ministry. And because I really do not have a problem with the appointment of Samuel Onyango into the board to represent the sugar sector, because he was a nominee during this time, or a nominee of the Kisumu Sugar and Bread Cooperative Union, I wrote to the Attorney General and attached him and drafting gazette notice for the appointment of Samuel Ongo into the board of WAFA, probably because of the busy nature of the NG's office and recognizing that we have only 642 councils in the country. We have a shortage of around 646. Probably that is where the delay could be, but I want to confirm to this House that within the shortest possible time, probably maybe give me 2 weeks, just in case today is a Wednesday, today is Tuesday, gazette notices are done on Fridays. If I'm not able to meet the deadline, because I have to go and chase and get to know the status, probably I can commit to have the gazette notice for the other week carry the name of Samuel Ongo as a board member to represent the Kisumu Sugar Bread Cooperative in the board of WAFA. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. For record purposes, today is Wednesday. So I think also, Senator Lekina, you are comfortable with that answer. Personally, I think it has given some way forward. No, you want only a chance to ask a supplementary question, which has been satisfactorily answered by the CS. Agree within 2 seconds.
Mr. Speaker, the challenge we have is that the Cabinet Secretary appears here as a witness, but not under oath. So the 2 weeks' time is what I want us to find a way to be able to follow through to ensure that he actually complies.
The CS, let us give him a benefit of doubt. When I introduced him, I said he is a seasoned member of the Senate, and he knows what he has promised. So that is good enough. Next is Senator Mudigi Alexander. Oh, I can see on the queue. The next is, do you have a supplementary question?
Yeah. Asante Bwana Spika. Swali langu ni kwa waziri wa kilimo. Katika Embu, Mbeere North na Mbeere South na pia Manyata kuna wodi zingine karibu wodi 12 zinalima kilimo mambo ya maembe. Na unajua maembe iko katika agriculture, na agriculture ni njia moja ya kupunguza mambo ya janga la njaa. naomba kama kuna uwezo wote unaweza kusaidia, kama kuna mipango wizara yako iko na ya kusaidia vile hawa wakulima wanaweza pata machini moja kubwa ya kukauza maembe na pia kutengeneza juice, kwa sababu hiyo machini juu ya value addition ni mashini ambayo inaweza kusaidia county zile zinafikiria mambo ya kilimo, ikiwa moja ni Embu County na zile zingine. Asante Bwana Waziri.
Thank you, Honorable CS.
Kama sheria za bunge hazijabadilika, nafikiria swali lingeulizwa kwa Kiswahili, unarudi kwa Kiswahili. Kwa hivyo nitajaribu kung'ang'ana na hiyo swali niweze kulinjibu. Ni kweli nakubaliana na Mheshimiwa Mundigi ya kwamba kilimo ni idara ambayo inaweza kubadilisha na kumaliza umaskini katika taifa letu. Na niseme na nishukuru wakulima wa Kenya na hasa wale wa Mbere na wa kaunti ya Embu kwa kusikia mwito wetu wa kuwaomba wakurudi kwa mashamba na kuweza kulima ili tuweze kumalisha janga la njaa katika taifa letu. Na ndio sababu tunajivunia wakati huu kuwa tumeshalisha chakula cha kutosha mpaka tukazindi ile makisio ya miaka mingi na ama ile tulikuwa tumewekelea kwa kushalisha chakula kwa msimu wa mvua uliopita. Na maembe ni mojawapo ya mimea ile tunaangazia, sababu ni mmea ambao hasa tumepata hata soko ya kupeleka nje. Wakati nilikuwa Pakistan, wakati nimekuwa kule Israeli, tumekuwa na mpango na kuongea vile tunaweza hata kupeleka maembe na nanasi kule. Na wakati wa Julai mwaka uliopita, mimi mwenyewe nili flag off ndege ya kupeleka maembe na nanasi kule Israeli. Kwa wakulima wa Mbere na hata kule Makueni, kule Ukambani na kule maembe inafanya vyema vizuri. Nimesikia hiyo ni mambo ambayo kila county inayoyafanya, wanataka tuangazie. Sababu wiki mbili nilikuwa kule Makueni pia, gavana wa kule Makueni akaleta hiyo story, na nataka kusema nikiwa mbungeni hapa sasa ya kwamba katika Wizara ya Kilimo tuko na project ambayo inaitwa the National Value Chain Development Program. The National Value Chain Development Program ni program ambayo tutatumia bilioni 6 na milioni 800. Na kile inajaribu kufanya ni kuangazia na kujaribu kusaidia wakulima kuweza kuongezea, kufanya value addition kwa ile value chains zile wao wanataka kuangazia. Na kwa hivyo sababu hiyo program design yake ni kuweza kuafikia mambo kama hayo, na Bwana Mundigi ningesema ya kwamba pesa hiko, kile cha maana ni kuweza kukaa chini, mkae na gavana wenu na ma-MC wenu, sababu we are implementing the program, na tukishirikiana na watu wa county wa identify value chain yetu ni ya maembe, ni ya machungwa ama ni ya nini, basi zile resources ama zile pesa tuliko nazo tunaweza kusipeleka hapo zote. Na hii program ndio sasa, hata jana ndio tulikuwa na nimeweka matangazo kwa gazeti kutafuta consultants wale wataweza kutupea report ya kutua vile tutaweza kuendelea na mpangilio huu, na by 1st of July hii program itakuwa inaendelea. Na kwa vile viongozi wa nyumba hili ndio wanaongoza counties, nataka kusema hii project tuna implement ama tunaitengeneza katika counties zote za Kenya, sababu mwito wetu tulisema ni mambo ya value addition, kusaidia manufacturing na agro processing ili tuweze kuextend shelf life ya mimea ama chakula yetu isiweze kuharibika. Kwa hivyo this is the opportunity. Kwa hivyo Mundigi, watu wako wapange pesa hiko, tutajipanga vile tutaweza kusaidia ndugu wetu wa kule Mbeere North, na pia wale wengine wote ambao wangetaka mambo yafanyike kusaidia different value chains depending na ile county ulioko na kulingana kile mnazo kuza huko. Tuko tayari kuungana na viongozi tuweze kufanya hayo maneno. Asante.
Next is Senator Wambua Enoch.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker. Speaker, because we learn every day, and I've seen my friend, my brother, Senator CS Mithika struggling with value addition in Kiswahili. It is called kuongeza dhamana. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the CS for his response to the question by Senator Tom. And now that Senator Tom has said that he is satisfied, I have a supplementary question relating to a promise, a good promise, that the President has pronounced himself on. In July 1st, during the Ushirika Day celebrations at KICC last year, the President committed on record that the government was going to be confronting the predatory cartels in the agriculture sector who have been exploiting farmers. And there was a clear direction on which way to go in terms of dealing with these cartels, especially now that a lot of farmers are getting their crops out of the farms. 3 ways were given. One, the President committed to work with county governments to secure farmers' crops from exploitation by cartels. There was a commitment to get foreign markets for our farm produce, and a commitment to what my brother was struggling with, to do value addition. So the benefit goes back to the farmers. Mr. Speaker, my supplementary question is, because those were going to be implemented through the Ministry of Agriculture, what progress has been made so far in securing and protecting farmers from these predatory cartels? Mr. Speaker, as I said, we are getting crops out of our farms now, and the CS knows that yours faithfully also tries a hand in farming. We have been invaded, seriously invaded, Mr. Speaker, by these cartels, seriously invaded. What protection are we getting from the government? What is the government doing to ensure that farmers don't continue to suffer in the hands of these cartels? I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable CS.
Mr. Speaker, I'm an implementer of presidential directives, and it is true the President directed that we need to do what it is practically possible to ensure that the interests of farmers are taken care of, we safeguard them from exploitation. And Mr. Speaker, we've been trying to address this particular question, but there is no quick fix that is so immediate on it. We are progressively getting there, and I would want to give examples on what we are doing. One, I want to thank the Committee on Delegated Legislation. I think I appeared before it. We discussed and passed the Strategic Fund Reserve Regulations. And in these Strategic Fund Reserve Regulations, we had identified certain classes of food crops that require to be identified as strategic food reserves. There I know it means maize, cereals like maize and beans, we have pulses. We even managed to get milk in there, because those are areas that what we thought was very necessary, and with the concurrence of Parliament, we were able to classify them that. Why were we doing this? Is because we wanted to make sure that once, as we prepare or maintain our food balance sheet in the country and stocks, then we can able at the same time to offtake from farmers what is produced in excess, because that way we can easily be able to provide the budgets to buy them as food strategic reserves for our industry. That was, in my view, a very great step towards ensuring that we have regulations that we can use to even call for money to ensure that whenever there is area that produces quite a lot, and those items from those areas can be really taken and put into our stores to ensure availability of funds, or to be able as to use to ensure farmers, we set a price such that farmers are not exploited. And I want also to give the example, very specific, Mr. Speaker, that currently we produce a number of bags of maize in the country. In fact, we've met our monthly, our consumption, and we surpassed that one. And that's why you find there is no much noise, because each one, many Kenyans are able to afford food, either from what they have produced, or they can cheaply get it from those that are produced more. So because this is something we knew, and this matter is a matter that I remember the first time, and discussions with the committees of Parliament, the members from the Rift, the North and the South Rift, brought about this issue. And I almost landed myself into very hot soup when I said, if there is no maize, you can eat potatoes, because they are all sources of starch. So, Mr. Speaker, what we did out of this experience was to ensure that we made sure available finances were made from Treasury for us to target to buy 1 million bags of maize, and at the rate of 4,000 shillings. So we got money to buy maize, and we told the farmers, now, since you have produced, please, if you are undepressed of cash and you want money, and don't succumb to the pressure of the broker, that the predatory cartels that Mheshimiwa Wambua is talking about, because our national cereals and produce stores are open for you. You can deposit your maize there, we will buy at 4,000 shillings. That's why the maize farmers are not really complaining now, because the last time I checked, the millers were buying at around 4,300 to 4,600. Today, because the price of maize has gone down, there are queues over within the national cereals and produce bond stores for farmers that want to sell their maize, because now the market is in a way that millers now want to buy at less than 4,000 shillings. Because we are telling the people, please don't sell your maize at a loss or below 4, because the government has provided for money to NCPB to buy the maize. So that's how we have managed in this space to deal with them. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, we are implementing the warehouse receipt system, where Mr. Speaker, we are saying you have produced, you don't want to sell now, you have no pressure, but you require your cereals, you require your legumes properly stored. So our national cereals and cereals stores is a warehouse for all the farmers in this country, and we have sufficient capacity. So you can deposit there, get a receipt, for you to sell at the appropriate time, or sell there, then, no, deposit there, you pick when you want, or you can still sell that maize or beans or dengu from from whichever store at the appropriate time. So these are some of the measures that, the immediate measures we have put in place to ensure that our farmers are not exploited. I want to commit, because I'm making proposals to the National Assembly for provision of more resources, because our farmers are really now become very productive and have taken advantage of the fertilizer we have given them, the other inputs we are supporting the farmers with. So I expect there to be a great and bump harvest, and for that matter, there is a need for us really to prepare so that we cushion our farmers from these cartels. Cartels are all over Mheshimiwa, because even what is even happening in the sugar sector and the stalemate that we find ourselves in is out of the involvement of those cartels who do not want us to implement the reforms. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable CS. Honorable Senators, I can see still we have a few other senators who have their supplementary questions, but due to some unavoidable circumstances, I will request Senator Tom Ojenda to ask question number 004, then we can continue with the supplementary questions thereafter.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, question number 004 is addressed to the Cabinet Secretary for Agriculture and Livestock Development. And it's in 4 parts, Mr. Speaker, sir. The first part is, what criteria is used in the appointment and dismissal of directors and managing directors or chief executives in state-owned sugar companies in Kenya? And could the Cabinet Secretary outline the requisite qualifications for appointment? Secondly, could the Cabinet Secretary state the contractual terms and conditions for appointment of managing directors in state-owned sugar companies and clarify whether they are uniform across all companies? Part C, how many recruitment exercises for managing directors in state-owned sugar companies have been conducted since 2021? And could the Cabinet Secretary provide the long list, short list, and interview schedule with corresponding scores in respect of each of the exercises and disclose the respective reasons for disqualifications of the candidates? Mr. Speaker, sir, because they are somewhere number 3 and become the MDs effectively. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, sir, what measures has the government put in place to ensure the effective oversight of boards of directors of state-owned sugar companies, particularly with respect to the appointment and dismissal of managing directors, to ensure that they adhere to principles of good governance, transparency, and accountability? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable CS, you can answer the 4 parts together, and if possible, you can summarize. You don't need to read the whole literature, because I can see you have good response from your office.
Mr. Speaker, let me try to be as brief as is possible. And if you allow me, because the qualifications of the directors, the chairperson and the directors are almost similar, reply as follows. That the criteria for appointment and dismissal of directors of sugar companies are various, a number of factors that we consider, and these are guided by the Mwongozo Code of Governance for State Corporations of 2015 and the State Corporations Act of 446.
Honorable CS, before the Professor Tom Ojenda leaves the chamber, I want to confirm from him if he is really satisfied with this response, because okay. I've really ascertained that he has interacted with this response and he has some remarks, so that also we can save time. If he is happy, then we don't need even to go the full. Yes, Professor Tom Ojenda.
I am satisfied.
The mic?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I confirm that I'm satisfied with the responses that have been circulated from the CS, and of concern was appointments to the boards of Chemelil and Sony Sugar Companies. And I think he has addressed some of the concerns that some may be addressed by perhaps follow-up questions. That's it, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Therefore, I will give the direction that we don't have then the CS to go through this response verbatim. I will also now actually ask whether members, because the supplementary questions you have, are they related to the question asked by Senator Ojenda, or have other supplementary questions? So that you can ask the supplementary questions and then we close this chapter. Then we start with the Senator, where is he? Senator Chendi. Let us get the supplementary questions, CS.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mine is actually very short. It is on the same question on the appointment of directors. Mr. Speaker, there was appointment of directors for Sony Sugar, and the same tussle is there in such a way that even now the stalemate is going on the appointment of the director for MD for Sony Sugar. So could the CS explain why there's a tussle in the area for Sony Sugar's MD since he was recently appointed, and is he aware that this issue has gone to court to the extent that it's a tussle, and what criteria was used to get the MD for Sony in the recent reshuffle that happened? Thank you, Chair.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I thank the member for that question because it gives me the basis to give some bit of background to the members to understand the problems we have and see how they can intervene and give us support that will go a long way towards really streamlining or reforming the sugar sector. Mr. Speaker, if there is an area where there are more cartels than anywhere else, is this space of sugar. And Mr. Speaker, when we started this process of bringing about reforms in the sugar sector, I personally met 57 members of parliament at Calro. I met the governors at Calro from the sugars growing areas because we wanted to agree on how to move forward because we understand the meaning of this industry to the economy of Kenya and the people of the western region where sugar is grown. And Mr. Speaker, you know, government has committed a lot of resources and continues to invest in this sector, and it is quite really painful because we've just concluded paying farmers around 1.3 billion shillings, and we have a debt and balance of around 400, so that we can be able to get back farmers to their farms and be able now to produce cane for crushing. You know, this country has a lot of serious shortage of sugar to the extent that we are forced to import the sugar from COMESA and non-COMESA countries. Even the COMESA safeguards that we've had for some time, we've now been threatened because they will not be extended after 2 years. So there is very need for us to really think together and be able to sort out the problems in the sugar sector. This we cannot do without the support of the leaders of this country, because the Kenya Kwanza administration led by William Ruto has already paid the farmers. We have already come out with a leasing model so that we are able to get investors to invest and bring in new technology and be able to bring in varieties and support, pay farmers in good time to produce enough cane for crushing, which will essentially be able to supply the local demand of sugar and really get us from the problem of trying to import sugar from outside the country, which inevitably leads us to losing a lot of foreign currency. So, Mr. Speaker, during this time, or the short time we've been there, we've been trying to bring order, and whatever we've been trying to do has been a subject of serious court litigation. And even now, the sugar leasing model that we wanted to implement, right now, we are now back in court because we've been stopped by an order not to continue with the process. I believe the cartels around the sugar sector are the ones that are paying money, paying litigants to go in court to try and stop this process. We are determined because we mean well for the people, for the sugar cane farmers, and we will do our best to ensure that this process continues. We have, Mr. Speaker, appointed, or have appointed the MDs of companies. There have been, Mr. Speaker, people have gone to court to challenge those appointments. Right now, Mr. Speaker, the sugar, the public sugar companies, which we are all aware of, Mr. Speaker, are people on acting capacity. Even the last appointment I was supposed to do was sugar. And before I would pronounce myself to the appointment, I got an order, so you can't appoint so and so. And neither can you appoint any of the recommended people. You see, Mr. Speaker, if there was, don't appoint Mr. So and so, and because the recommendation sent to me are 3 names, I would have picked anyone. But now we're in a state where we have tried to believe in the rule of law as a government. We have actively now involved in court to deal with these issues. But as far as my ministry is concerned, and with the direction of the President, our main target right now is to ensure that we sort out this problem in the sugar industry. But of course, now I am requesting and appealing to the lenders, because you know these people, and especially those people from the sugar growing areas who are sponsoring these people to go to court. I know people want, there are some things that, and I've been told that people or those sponsoring those cases are only interested, some of them want to take over that land that belongs to the farmers. And this could be the driving force. So, Mr. Speaker, when I know, like now we have the sugar bill that is out there for public participation. I know people are supposed to be out from the 1st to the 9th. You see the kind of situation that would be. For example, running a sugar bill without the representatives of the sugar farmers within AFA that is running, that is supposed to participate in this exercise. So we have issues, Mr. Speaker. We are trying to confront them head-on. We will do what we can, but please, whatever small thing that you can do as the representatives of the people of this country, please share ideas with us. Let us know, give us intel to know who these people are, so that we can now know how to deal with them, because we must be able to sort out the problem in the sector. Because I am not ready any other time to go to the National Assembly to ask for money to pay farmers again. We have already made a request. The National Assembly has passed a write-off of a lot of money, revenue that belonged to government, for us to clean up that area and get people that can really invest strongly in this sector. But now, if we continue in the circus of cases, stopping, nothing is doing, first, farmers will lose confidence again. They will not support cane growing, will not get sugar. We continually import sugar. And then those factories again, and the workers will just be there accumulating debt in terms of salary. At the end of the day, it will end up becoming a very difficult exercise for us, and we do not want to frustrate those good people of this country that really practice sugarcane farming. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Next is Senator Seki Lenku.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Let me thank the Honorable Cabinet Secretary for Agriculture for answering a question, a supplementary question on farmers, particularly on the cartels and the plan that they have for the farmers, especially having in mind that we are expecting a bumper harvest for farmers at this time. I want to ask a different question, because I think, Honorable Speaker, that question has been covered well. But I want to request the Honorable CS to give us a plan on the restocking of livestock in the country, knowing that you have a plan as a ministry, and still again directives of the President. and more particularly on Kajiado County, knowing that we have really lost a lot of farmers, livestock, during the last drought season. So maybe you can just answer that question, and if not, then you can definitely give us more answers later. But I think that is a question that is very much direct to him as a cabinet secretary. Thank you very much.
Honorable CS.
Mr. Speaker, I think I can try to answer that question. There's no need for me to go and prepare for this. Mr. Speaker, the answer to this question is that we are aware, of course, the drought that we had claimed 2.5 million hens of cattle, we lost a lot of livestock during that time. And our farmers, our livestock keepers really require support. Is something we are aware of. And Mr. Speaker, one of the very sustainable steps we are taking, just like I said from the beginning, is that I have right now 2 million straws of semen that we want to use to inseminate our animals within those SRO areas. One, for them to change their breed, to improve on their quality in terms of milk and beef. Secondly, for those animals that remained, that's what we want to do. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, we have already started preparing ourselves to do the restocking that Mheshimiwa is really talking about. And just last week, the President directed me and Treasury to work together and raise 500 million shillings to ensure that we are able to support the farmers that lost their livestock. So we are in those discussions, and once I have the money, then we'll be able to move with speed to ensure those farmers are able to be supported. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Mwinyi Haji Mohammed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Welcome, brother. Senator Linturi, CS Agriculture. My concern is the situation at the Mombasa tea auction. For the last 1 week, there have been reports that there has been a glut in the tea supply, and therefore the auction has not been doing well. And you know, tea is maybe one of the major foreign exchange earners of this country. And we are concerned that any glut or any problems in the market, it will create a situation where the farmers will earn less and the country will lose the foreign exchange. What is the government doing in order to maybe assist the farmers and the marketers of tea so that they can get better prices for their commodity? Thank you.
Thank you, Mohamed Faki. Senator, Waziri.
Mr. Speaker, allow me to appreciate Faki for his patriotism and concern about the well-being of the economy of the country, because the matter that he's raising is not particular to Mombasa. It's not a tea grower. So I really want to appreciate you, Mheshimiwa, for thinking about other Kenyans. But simply, Mr. Speaker, I am aware of what is happening at the tea auction. I confirm it is true. If urgent measures are not taken, we are likely to experience serious glut in the market, and we will have our prices collapse. But, Mr. Speaker, one of the reasons why it's happening is the independent factories or tea farmers. We are trying to enforce a rule and a regulation on the reserve price, and because they are not very keen on maintaining a reserve price so that we maintain our price. That is what has caused us that problem. Secondly, some are also trying to get tea indirectly from the factories. You know, there is a story about indirect sales from the factories, and we are trying to see how to deal with the situation, but I can comfortably tell you this will not take long. Tomorrow I'm launching the tea report. Tomorrow, the progress and the future of tea looks quite good, despite that small problem out there. I really wanted immediately thereafter to go to China, because there is an arrangement we are discussing with China, because I want a more powerful delegation to China. We have to accommodate the Deputy President's diary so that we are able to go together to China, because we have gotten a market for tea in China, and their capacity to take tea from Kenya is beyond our imagination. So we are going there, hoping that when we finalize an agreement, I've looked at them, we are ready for that. Once we are done, by around 15th of the month, we will be able now to ship out our tea. We want to ship out more tea to those other new destinations, so that the local demand will create, the normal forces of supply and demand should take place, but will ensure that we will never have a lot of tea in Kenya that will really be able to collapse the auction, tea auction in Mombasa. Yesterday, I had a discussion with the ambassador of Egypt, and we have the joint committee JCC meeting taking place next week, and our idea was for them to be able to increase our exports to Egypt, Pakistan, and there's another one we want to push for Iran, so that at least we open greater market. We want to increase our exports simply, but the new markets that we have found is that of China. I also did flag off a container to Australia for tea, is another frontier we are opening. So once we mop out our processed tea here, I think everything else will be fine. Although we are also encouraging the value addition on our specialty teas, so that at least we are able to take control and take our market. In December last year, I appointed a gentleman that is really working day and night to end the tea board of Kenya, which did not have a CEO for quite some time. This may have caused. So he's working on the regulations to ensure that the sector is properly managed. So please indulge us, give us some other 1 or 2 months, everything else will just be flowing. But I am aware, I thank you for the question, but we are really doing what we can. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, CS, for the comprehensive answer. Honorable Senators, you see we are past 1 hour with the CS. On the majority leader. But because I know agriculture is very, very key in this country, I want to, and since the CS is here, and I can see he really understands the subject matter in his ministry, I want to give a few other senators, maybe we see how we can be able to manage the time that we have. So, Senator Okenyuri-Esther.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I actually waited for long, and in the process, the Cabinet Secretary answered my concern, especially on how consultative the appointment process is. But allow me to appreciate the Cabinet Secretary for ensuring that the subsidized fertilizer gets to my constituency of origin, Bomachoge, Borabu, because we're among the constituencies that never had the opportunity of having the fertilizer get close to the farmers. And unfortunately, most farmers spent their money. By the time the fertilizer was coming, they had already purchased out of pocket. But thank you for heeding to our plea. The farmers can smile. 2 days ago, the lorries arrived in Kenyanya, and we are grateful. Thank you.
Honorable CS.
Let me appreciate the Senator for those good ones, but at the same time, please allow me to ask to invite you to participate in this noble cause of fertilizer and distribution in the country. Understanding that from the last experience that I had, we realized farmers were moving to very long distances to collect 2, 3, 4 bags, and ending up the costs being quite high on the hand. So right now, I've had 2 weeks ago, and I'm meeting with the CCs of all the county, our county governments in Naivasha. We sat down, we discussed, we agreed on a plan on how to get the fertilizer closer to the people. And I asked them to give me a list of 1 station in every ward, meaning we will be opening 1,451 stations in the country. Is an investment by itself, but for whatever it costs to ensure that our Kenyan farmer is happy, we are willing to go that extra mile. So what I want to ask the members also to support us in is, please make sure, push your governors, because the framework and the understanding that we agreed on is that they won't be able to give us the stores. I won't be able to, even if it means getting contract employees with the equipment that are required for fertilizer redemption in every ward, we will go out of our way to ensure that is done. So the county governments, we give them, we ask the CECs to comply, and compliance here means giving us the names of those stations by the 15th of this, of the 15th of this month, because this is February. That was the deadline, and day after Valentine. So I want to say and repeat again from the Senate, because this is the House that oversees counties. Please ask your governors to comply. By last week, when we had the cabinet retreat, only 15 counties and compliant with the agreement and met the bargain on the list that is meant to come to the ministry for us to be able to organize ourselves, and the rains are setting in. So please put pressure on them. Let them send the list to my ministry so that we are able to get fertilizer to every ward, to a station in every ward, and be able to ensure farmers have access to fertilizer easily and cheaply, conveniently. Thank you.
Next is Senator Mudam Agnes Kavidu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Let me start by congratulating the CS for Agriculture, Mr. Linturi, who is the former senator in this House. I know when we speak here as senators, you understand what we are talking about and where we are coming from. And I want to congratulate you because you are really on the spot on answering the questions. But my worry and my concern is about mangoes, avocados, and passions in Machakos County. Because farmers do a lot of work to bring up all these things, and by the time they are ready, farmers are only exploited by cartels who go there and buy a mango for 2 shillings. And they go and sell these mangoes even locally for 20 shillings a kilo, you know? And they are buying 1 piece for 2 shillings. What are you doing as the CS Agriculture to make sure farmers are not exploited? You've talked of July, talking to people, and avocados are almost ready now. Actually, some of them are ready. What are you doing to make sure that the farmers will not lose? Others end up giving these mangoes and even the avocados and, you know, these fruits to the cows because they have nowhere to sell them. And yet we encourage them to farm so that they can benefit and we can have enough. Why can't the government plan to bring machines for making juices and, you know, find market for these people so that they don't keep on suffering? Thank you, Mr. CS.
You did not ask the CS the question. You asked me so that I can ask the CS. So I think, Honorable Senators, there was a similar question by Senator Wambua and Senator Mudigi. But the CS, you can really summarize again because, and also Senators, let us avoid repeating the same questions, kindly. Okay.
Mheshimiwa Kavindu was not here when I answered the question. But the question was asked by Wambua and a supplementary from Wamdiki. But simply, Mheshimiwa, is that we are aware of the pain that our farmers go through to produce mangoes and avocado. And one of the long-term plans that we have, this is what I want to hand, which I did not, is, you see, this county aggregation and industrial parks we are talking about, because we won't be able to aggregate with them being equipped with cold rooms, value addition for us to prolong share of life of our products. So if we are to prolong share of life, we are able to add value, we won't be able to create more value because we won't be able to squeeze oil from the avocado and whatever it is. That is something that is work in progress, and everybody knows that. You know, I also, before you came in, I was saying that issue of aggregation, and I also brought about the issue of having classified some of these commodities as strategic food reserves, so that we are able now to have bunches to really offtake. The other thing I did not mention, probably I would want to tell you, is that I mentioned about the new markets. The new markets we have opened, I talked about Israel, that I mentioned. We have an opportunity there, but know what is happening now, nobody knew. I also said that I did not mention that we have procured other new markets in India. We flagged off the first consignment like 2 months ago for avocado to India. So that's another market we are open for avocado or these agricultural crops. And right now the problem that has been great is we really do not have enforcement officers also to check on the quality of what we've been producing. And that's why we're under serious problem with the European EU market, because very unscrupulous and faithful traders were harvesting immature fruits, and that caused us a lot of problem. And I want to appreciate HAFA because HAFA has really moved into action to ensure that they enforce the regulations so that these other farmers do not really spoil our market. So once we are done with the value addition through aggregation value addition with within these parks, within the counter aggregation parks, that problem will be half solved. The other thing is that we also, and the new administration is entirely looking at a new complete, the policy that we are adopting is economic. The contracts or the ambassadors targets that have is how they are able to really source for markets for our products outside the country. And I believe, because that there is that in general shift to economic diplomacy, we won't be able to create more markets as we move into the future. Because I can tell you from where I sit, we have no capacity to feed the world. I can tell you, once I went for a conference, the whole world was sitting and discussing about the future of food in the country. Last week, I and the East and Central ministers from this region to discuss about food. The other week, and the African Union, because the African Union wants me, and this is the lead country, well, now we are also now targeting how to improve animal feed, to be able to feed our animals, and animals is a source of food. So food and nutritional security is a problem for the world and not only Kenya. So whoever leverages on that gap and takes advantage of technology, take advantage of the now good rains coming in, and our good source, our young men and women that are jobless, because kilimo sasa ni biashara, won't be able to cover this gap and put more people into employment. So please, I think there are all indicators out there, because you can see we are really trying. So I cannot give ourselves a mark, but at least everybody that has eyes can see the much we are doing, and I believe there is a bright future for the country, and the future is also bright for the people of this country, the young men and women of this country, the farmers of this country who really want to engage in farming. Thank you.
Let us now have the Chair Agriculture, Senator Murango James.
Asante sana, Mr. Speaker. Unajua kwa siku nyingi tukienda kwa waziri tunakuja kulalamika. Leo tutashukuru kwa sababu ya jambo moja ambao tulileta katika bunge la Seneti na ukafanya. Tulipoandika barua kamati ya kilimo kuhusu makandamia na kuinua marufuku ya kuuza makandamia ambayo ina maganda, ulifanya hivyo. Ilikuwa inatoka shilingi 30, saa hii inatoka shilingi 120, na mwezi ujao itafika shilingi 150. Hiyo ndio kufanya kazi na kusaidia wakulima. Lakini pia kuna barua nyingine itakuja mezani kuhusu pia wenzetu kutoka pwani kwa sababu ya korosho. Nayo pia iko na shinda hiyo. Ukifanya hivyo watu wenzetu pia wataweza kupata natija katika uzanji wa korosho katika eneo la pwani. Jambo la pili, waziri yangu tu naongea tu ndio uende nayo, ni kwamba tulipokuwa tumekaa kama kamati tulikuwa tunachunguza bajeti ya mwaka huu. Kilimo inatupatia kandili ya 20% ya mapato nchi hii, lakini tulipata pia umepata tu 3% kwa bajeti. Tunajua ni mfalme wa mistari, pia sijui kama mistari imekupotea kidogo ukashindwa kutongoza wizara ya fedha kukupatia fedha zaidi, lakini muhimu iongezewe. Tutapeana pia barua zetu katika mbunge ili tuweza kustawisha kilimo kama itakuwa ni uti wa mgongo, na pia ili kuwa na usalama wa chakula nchini. Jambo la tatu karibu na mwisho ni konokono. Tumekuwa na kero kubwa sana wakulima mchele kutoka maeneo tofauti, Mwea, Mbunyara, Hero. Konokono imetusumbua sana, imekuwa kero. Na unajua waziri, konokono hana mwendo. Ingekuwa panya tungeelewa kwa sababu anakimbia. Ingekuwa nzige tungeelewa kwa sababu anapaa. Lakini konokono hana mwendo waziri. Hilo njanga tusipoliangalia vizuri hatutakuwa na mpunga haswa katika eneo la Mwea. Naomba kwamba ile taasisi inahusika katika kudhibiti wadudu waharibifu waweze kuangalia, na ndio ndiposa tumekualika tarehe 15 kule Mwea ukuje tuketi pamoja tuangalie suluhisho la jambo hilo. Na la mwisho, mbolea ya ruzuku imekuwa ni ya maana sana. Umeitisha majina, lakini kama mali nimetoka Kirinyaga, vyama vya ushirika ni 14. Kwa hivyo mbolea ikipelekwa kama ni wakulima wa kahawa katika vyama vya ushirika, wote watapata mbolea pasipo kuwa na shida. Wako na magara ambao iko na usalama wa kuweka fertilizer. Kama ni mchele, shinda ni ile wale wanaolima mchele kwa sababu ya mbolea. Mbolea ya mchele ni tofauti sana. Kuna ile sulfate of ammonia, kuna ile wanaitanga sukari, kuna TSP ambayo haitumiki katika ukulima wa mahindi. Kama saa hii ukienda, wakulima wengi wako na ujumbe lakini hawezi pata fertilizer. Na wale ambao mahali kuna fertilizer unapata ujumbe unachelewa. Ningeuliza pia katibu katika wizara inayohusika na mambo ya ukulima, pia angalie kwamba zile ujumbe zinafikia wakulima ifahavyo ili waweze pia kupata ile mbolea. Lakini kwa wingi na kushukuru, kazi yako najua ni kazi ngumu. Waswahili wanasema ni kazi msaragambo, kazi ngumu, lakini pia umemundu. Na pia kwa sababu ni mwenzetu, tukikuja na lalama lolote tafadhali tusikize, kwa sababu najua majukumu yetu na kilimo imegatuliwa. Asante sana mstahiki Speaker.
Senator Murango, yako ilikuwa sio swali, ulikuwa unapea mwelekeo kwa wizara. Swali la ziada huwa ni moja tu, lakini nimekupea nafasi sababu wewe ndiye mwenyekiti wetu katika sekta ya kilimo. Kwa hivyo sijui kama waziri ako na jibu la maswali au jaza comment, then I will give the majority leader. Speaker comment, waziri.
Bwana Speaker, nataka kusema ya kwamba ni kweli hiyo shinda ya mambo ya konokono ni swala sugu katika kule pande ya Mwea, na watu wa Mwea na washukuru sababu wameshalisha mchele sasa msimu uliopita, na tani zile tumeshapata zimeongezeka, na kwa hivyo hiyo ni swala nitaweza kushughulikia, na niko huko Ijumaa kwa hivyo nitakuja na wataalamu Friday ni waache huko akishughulika baada ya kumalizana na hii firundi ya mambo ya michele ya watu wa Mwea. Lakini nashukuru kwa mambo yale umesema, na pale tumeenda chini kidogo, tutajaribu kuweza kuinua ratili kidogo. Asante Speaker.
Okay, Majority Leader, Senator Alon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have a question to the Minister with regards to the distribution of the subsidized fertilizer program. Previously, when he appeared before the House, he had made a commitment that they are doing the last mile program for these programs, for this very useful program, so that farmers can pick it at the nearest possible location closest to their farms. And he had said they're in conversation even with owners of agrovet, so that even if farmers were to pay just something slightly above what the cost of a fertilizer is, but it is within walking distance where they can collect the fertilizer and go to their farms. Unfortunately, in the program as currently is designed, farmers still have to travel some significant distance. So what is the assurance that the Minister is giving this House that at the next phase, first of all, what went wrong? Because he had committed to us that that program will run successfully, so that the last mile part of the program is well executed. And what commitment is the Minister giving to us so that we know at the next phase, the next planting season, a farmer will be able to walk to the nearest, maybe agrovet or primary school or wherever they decide to take it as a ministry, collect their fertilizer and go to their farms, because that's the only complaint that farmers still have up to date. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
No, yes, but you
know, oh sorry, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, I think I don't know how to answer that question, but I want to be excused because you know Aaron is my friend and is the leader of majority. So I answered that question before you got here. The same frame and format. What we are doing, where we are today, but for purposes of clarity, I sent 2-3 weeks ago and a meeting in Naivasha with all the CCs in this country. We agreed that by the 15th of February, every governor will give us a list of 5 areas, 5 spots in his county, 5 areas in every ward in the constituency. So that we have 1,450 in the 14 no, let me be clear. We are opening areas for fertilizer and distribution in every ward. So identifying those areas where fertilizer won't be placed was placed on the governor. And we agreed with the CECs that by the 15th of February, please, let's have the list of those areas so that we are able to organize ourselves and deliver the fertilizer there. I indeed mentioned and appealed to the senators to put pressure, exercise your oversight role on the governors to ensure that they comply with the terms of the agreement that we have with them. Because by last week, only 15 counties aren't compliant in the country. And why I said compliance meant giving us those areas where we are supposed to take the fertilizer. It's a big thing for us because now we are already, the National Cereals and Produce Board is really working on getting young men and women on contract for fertilizer redemption. So, Majority Linda, that is what I had sent, and we are really committed. We really do not want to really have our farmers travel those long distances to get the fertilizer. Thank you.
Yeah, the question was really well answered, but now that you have your neighbor around you, you were not attentive that time when the question was answered. Okay, now we go to Senator Olekina Ledama.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my question is clearly on the supplementary questions, on the question that was asked by Senator Ojenda. In the response of the Cabinet Secretary, first of all, let me say I found it to be very casual because I read the response. Although the Senator was comfortable with it, once a matter has been brought here, it becomes the property of the House. I just wanted the Cabinet Secretary to clearly give an indication on two things. Number one, the Cabinet Secretary in his response alluded to the fact that he is currently developing regulations to be able to control the transportation or to set up terms on the transportation of the cane. Because the question that was asked was on the cartels or syndicate which steals the cane from farmers before the cane gets to the millers. So if the Cabinet Secretary can expound on his response, because his response was only like 3 paragraphs, very short. And the last, he said the Cabinet Secretary is in the process of making regulations to provide for the management of weighbridge to ensure fairness in sugarcane weighing. While at that, Mr. Speaker, the Cabinet Secretary, can the Cabinet Secretary tell this House what the ministry is doing now that the Ministry of Agriculture, although agriculture is devolved, has got the majority of the budget? What are they doing to be able to assist, reduce the cost of inputs in the sugarcane farming? Because there are new taxes, and I'm sure when taxes are introduced, the Cabinet Secretary is the one who proposes them through the Ministry of Treasury. These taxes on transportation of sugarcane, taxes on fertilizer, taxes on harvesting. And then after that, when the sugar is sold, there is also VAT on it. So if the Cabinet Secretary can expound a little bit on those regulations, if the regulations are going to deal with that, we'd really appreciate it.
I wanted to listen to you first. You know you are taking us back to question 003, correct, which we dispensed of. Now, just have your seat, kindly. And I remember even during that question, I give you an opportunity, 003. Question 003, you are here. I give you an opportunity to ask your supplementary question about the director, the appointment of somebody as a director. Question 003, which is the one you are reading. So now we are on question 004 on another different matter. So you are taking us back to where we were, and I give you also an opportunity. You ask a supplementary question. No, you should read the first also, you know. Randama, you are not an amateur in the Senate. So I don't know whether the CS has anything to respond to, because that is the answer he gave long time ago. So let's go to Senator William Cheptumo.
I am ready.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Just a minute, Senator Cheptumo. But you know, Honorable CS, the Speaker has made a ruling that we dispensed of question 003.
It's not the one.
Just comply with the Speaker's directive, so that the other senators are lined up here to ask a question relevant to question 004, kindly.
Mr. Speaker, I'm not answering the question.
Yeah, sorry?
It's not the one I'm answering. There is only an area on the tax.
Proceed.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, sir, Mr. Speaker, for really protecting me, because I know when I used to be here, you never be asked to ask two questions within one question once you have spoken. But thank you. The issue I want to speak to is the issue, and you know, this country, there is a narrative that is being ran around, that everything that is being done is tax, tax, tax. So, Mheshimiwa Olekina, let me say that the money for us to finance our budget and for us to really regain our sovereignty, we must be willing to pay tax. I have spent 1.3 billion shillings from a taxpayer from Meru, Kericho, or anywhere else, to pay farmers. Farmers that produce cane was sold, and there's nothing that we can show for it. So if we are not collecting taxes or borrowed money to pay, then collective responsibility as responsible citizens to run the affairs of our country is when we will be able to really claim our sovereignty. Where we come from, the same, you will never have respect when you go out there and begging. Mr. Speaker, I've gone out of this country. And when I went out of this country, and actually the Director General of FAO is waiting for me in the office, I found myself in a very embarrassing situation, because that is the time when locusts, that there was the issue of the hammerworms, locusts. I did not find myself very comfortable borrowing those people money to come and deal with the hammerworm. They gave me an air tractor to spray hammerworms to fight the quilly and buns that's been on me. So, Mr. Speaker, it is, if you were to get into my position where you have to sit down with a Mzungu every time begging, is not the best place. So, Mheshimiwa Olekina, please let us encourage our people to pay taxes so that when we generate enough revenue, we are able to finance our issues as a country. And then this Parliament, the National Assembly, then put the executive into account to explain to what they have done with the taxes that they collect. But otherwise, if we were to take that route, then we will really discourage the Ngundi taxpayers in this country. So, Mr. Speaker, that's what I want to say. I don't want to ask question, but I only wanted my friend to know that payment of tax is our responsibility. You know, when my president or my boss is being called Isakayo throughout, and a narrative is being created to show or to demonstrate as if he has no feelings. And because I sit there and I know how difficult it is to raise resources and finance our own budget, and Kenyans are being discouraged on the payment of tax, it really hurts me, because I have served in both sides and I know really what it means. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Senator Cheptumo, proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the CS for his been able to answer the questions. But, Mr. Speaker, he will confirm to the House that the country is spending billions of money in the fertilizer supplies, whether they are subsidized. I believe your budget for fertilizers is in billions. Why don't you consider, Bwana CS, the possibility of being able to process our fertilizers in Kenya? If you spend the kind of money you are spending in exporting this fertilizer and you put subsidy, isn't it really cost effective for you as a country, for us as a country, to consider doing our own fertilizers in Kenya? That will save this country foreign exchange. It will save us the taxpayers' money. And I think, Mr. Speaker, last year, you did very well because our farmers were able to produce enough food supplies because of the fertilizers you gave us, reducing the price from 7,000 to 2,500. Now, why don't you consider having a factory here in Kenya to manufacture our fertilizers, therefore save money for Kenyans?
Honorable CS.
Mr. Speaker, the member for Baringo has raised a very important issue, and I wish we would be able to generate and gather support from many members and Kenyans of goodwill for this country to get at that level. But allow me, Mr. Speaker, say that is our wish. That is, if there is any legacy that I would want to leave in this country, is to ensure during my time that a fertilizer factory is built or is done in Kenya, and we're able to produce our own fertilizer. I want to appreciate the President's support in my ministry, and even towards getting us to producing fertilizer locally. You all know that there are specific special economic zones that are being created in this country, and one is Naivasha. So, Mheshimiwa Zeptumo, one of the negotiations we are making with potential investors in the country, any forum that we sit on, discuss, any bilateral meeting that we do with people that have capacity to support us in fertilizer production, is the creation or setting up of a fertilizer factory in the country. The discussions are ongoing. One of the areas we have targeted is Naivasha because of the necessary material. Number two, Mr. Speaker, the fertilizer that is being appreciated by nearly everyone is a fertilizer that the President directed me to go and check the factory in Dodoma in Tanzania. And when I went to Tanzania last year when we were starting this program, I found a factory in Tanzania, sat with the Minister for Agriculture in Tanzania, and told me how effective the fertilizer was and its ability to increase yields by over 40%. I listened to him, I had them reported to my boss, and he told me what you need to do is move with speed and see whether we can try. I want to confirm, Mr. Speaker, when I met that investor, the Tanzanian government was very cagey because they thought you would get the investor outside Tanzania. They didn't have a problem, and they thank the government of Tanzania for allowing us to export fertilizer from Tanzania, which fertilizer was fifth chemical, fifth organic, and the healing effects of that fertilizer to ourselves, because most of them are acidic, has been tremendous. So we've been in discussions. That company is called Tracom. It's a Mzee from Burundi. It's a serious investor from Burundi. That is the fertilizer personally I've used in FIME. So I would want to encourage people to try that fertilizer from a company called Tracom. It's called Fomi Kuza, Fomi Otesha. Mr. Speaker, it has done wonders. So we have also succeeded, Bwana Cheptumo, in convincing that investor to come and set up a fertilizer factory in Kenya. And this fertilizer, Mheshimiwa, when we come to ask for support, yule wa Kajiado, right? The fertilizer is being set in Kajiado, and in the next less than 2 months, we'll be breaking ground for the setup of a first fertilizer factory in that particular region. So, Mheshimiwa, it's something we are doing. We are happy that you people have such ideas and you want to support us in this, but we are on course. We want to make sure it is done. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Manzo, Daniel.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to
seek clarification on two areas. I think the Minister has not answered properly, the Cabinet Secretary for Agriculture. One, is there a possibility of, or do you have any plans for PPPs for cold rooms for storage of mangoes and other products which needs storage to prolong their lifetimes, so that we could do away with the brokers? And if so, what are the budgets, and when is this likely to commence? And secondly, on the issue of input and output of fertilizers, there are taxes in the input and taxes in the output. Does it not amount to double taxation? And I think that's what Honorable Lekina was trying to ask, but if you could kindly highlight on that, so that it doesn't just look like we are blaming the government unnecessarily for overtaxation. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
CS, please respond.
Mr. Speaker, I once again said that for us to be able to preserve our perishable food items, this government's agenda, and one of the areas that is keen on, is value addition. And the concept and the philosophy behind the county aggregation and industrial parks was for us to be able to aggregate our produce and be able to hand value so that we reduce post-harvest losses. So if we have to hand value and extend shelf life, then it is automatic that we have to provide cooling or cold rooms for that preservation. So within the framework of the KIPES, and because I am lucky, I was discussing with my sister Rebecca Miano last week on these KIPES, I want to confirm that within that framework, our KIPES will have those cold rooms, and there is no reason to why people should have any worries, because that is being addressed. As far as I am concerned, and there are certain levies and taxes, in my view, are mostly changed by the two arms of government at times, or in certain cases, or depending, people may also interpret them differently. But I know most of the counties are changes to on what is transported or what is owned within their counties. But we have been discussing with the Mheshimiwa former Speaker Emeritus of this House, who is the chair of the Agricultural Committee within the Council of Governors, for us to be able to agree that if farmers or traders are transporting food from a rich food county to a county that is starving of hunger, there is no reason to why people of that particular county should not be given the benefit of accessing cheap food by counties coming up with a tax or a levy regime that is not very punitive to our traders or our farmers. So this is, we have once, Ms. Mahanzo, realized it is happening, and we're in the discussions of trying to create harmony so that at least there is free flow of food items in the country, because we do not want to have some of our people suffering. Mr. Speaker, I'm going to stop there. And just like I said before, I said taxes have to be paid if we have to finance our budgets. And, pardon, I said the taxes, in fact, taxes have to be paid. We will not, anything that, and let us be specific to each tax. We must be specific what tax we are talking about. Because there is the personal pay as you earn tax, corporate tax, whatever it is. But tax is our responsibility as responsible citizens. So there can't be service without the tax. So let us all agree. Save us from this shame of going with the balls, asking to borrow. You can never, on Lekina, finance the current expenditure. I have no problem borrowing for development. But the current expenditure, if I give you money today, or if you are busy putting your sufuria on the hand, and you not grow maize, you know, even if I give you maize now to eat in the morning, you will be angry at the noon and you'll be angry in the evening. So the best thing is give you fertilizer and then be able to grow your own 1 bag or 2 and be able to feed yourself. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Bana CS. Senator Kisang, and please be very quick with your questions.
Thank you, Speaker. I'm very quick. One, Speaker, I want to thank the CS. You realize the CSs who were in Parliament actually know their job very well. We will encourage the President in the future to pick ministers or CSs from this House, those who will have maybe would not have stood.
Senator Kisang, go direct
Thank
to
you,
the
Honorable
question.
Speaker. Honorable Speaker, mine is, I wanted to find out from the CS, Honorable Speaker, November, December, January, the dairy farmers were paid late by KCC, and there is an assurance from the President that they are going to pay us twice, beginning this March. So I wanted him to assure this House that our farmers will be paid every 15 days. And what plans does he have to ensure feed for dairy is subsidized? We get a subsidized price, and we get across the country.
Buenos Dias. Let's take 2 more questions, then you answer all of them and we conclude. Senator Veronica Maina. And please go direct to the question.
Thank you. Thank you, Speaker, and thank you, CS, for the many questions you have answered and the effort you have put in the ministry. It's one of the key ministries that's delivering the plan to Kenyans. My question is simple, about guaranteeing the tea prices, and we have seen the coffee prices being given a minimum guarantee. How long will it take for you to have a stable tea price in view of the disparity that we have seen in the payment of the last bonus, which left some of the tea farmers paid at a very minimal rate with so many deductions by the tea factories? And the disparity then pointed to the fact that maybe tea from certain areas was more better or more productive or more quality than tea from other areas. CS, is it possible that we have the prices stabilized so that farmers are assured of an income that is stable and an income that supports all the inputs they've had to do in order to produce?
Thank you, Senator. Senator Onyonka.
I would like to, first of all, start, Mr. Speaker, if you'll allow me for just a minute. I wanted to say, for me, it's a great honor to be in this House.
Go direct to the question, please, Senator.
I will, sir. Just for a second, I wanted to say that the CS has performed beyond our expectation, and we are proud of you. Thank you, sir. The question I wanted to ask you, Mr. CS, is that, number 1, 2 of the questions I was going to ask you've already answered, so I'll go to just 2 more that I have. I know that you've set up an app which shows in Kenya the areas where the soil's content, soil quality is and what you can grow in these particular areas, which I thought was an ingenious and very clever way of giving the Kenyan public data if somebody wanted to do farming. The question I'm asking you now is it possible that your ministry can also set up an app which then, once you've given the soil content, and even I'm told you are able to give us the periods when the rains fall and when they don't, is it possible then for you to do another app which tells every Kenyan the area where they are, what plants and what animals they can keep in that particular region so that they are able to use your expertise to benefit themselves. The last question I wanted to ask, because we don't have time.
Senator, just one question. The final question will be asked by Senator Hilary Sigay.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker, and once again also appreciate the CS for creating time to come and respond to the questions in this House. My question, Honorable CS, is about supplementary to the question on the e-subsidy fertilizer, the USST code that the ministry has introduced with regards to the registration, the new registration regime for farmers. I am a farmer, Honorable CS, and there is part of the USST code that allows one to expand or extend on the acreage, which on prior registration you had given some, second registration requires you to run through that system. But unfortunately, I've tried actually in the House here now 3 times. That system tells me I am not registered in the Kiamis system, and therefore I cannot enhance my registration process to get additional e-subsidy fertilizer. What is it that could be the issue? I know it's probably one of the questions that you might not be able to answer now, but it is something that farmers are unable to do it, yet they cannot access fertilizers other than when their acreage has been enhanced by the system according to the new registration regime. Thank you.
Thank you. CS, please respond to all of them so that we can conclude.
Chairman, there are so many I may not even remember who asked what. But Chairman, let me be able to respond, Chairman, and I think I will start, if you allow me, I'll start by answering the question
Senator Cherargei, we need to conclude.
On subsidizing
the CS had communicated to the House. The CS had priorly communicated to the House that he had a prior engagement, and we have kept him here for almost 2 hours. So it is time that we conclude this matter so that we can give leave to the CS and we can continue with other business. Please, Senator Cherargei.
Thank you.
CS, please continue with the answer.
So, Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. And the question was raised on whether or what we are doing to ensure there is access of cheap quality animal feed, or what we've been doing. I want to remind the members that when we are in these problems, I indeed request Treasury.
CS, just one moment, please. What is your point of order, Senator Cherargei?
Mr. Speaker, I thought we had agreed that agriculture is very important. Would it hurt if we are joining at 1 to give us 1 minute, so that we can see how we can proceed, Mr. Speaker?
What is your point of order, Senator Cherargei?
My point of order, Mr. Speaker, is on the standing order 41 on quorum of the proceedings of the Senate. Since the CS has another matter, we can adjourn and maybe invite him. Mr. Speaker, the House is not looking around. We don't have appropriate quorum, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Cherargei, we were just about to conclude.
Yes, there's no quorum. No quorum. Yes.
Senator Cherargei, we were just about to conclude, but I do actually confirm that there's no quorum, so we'll have to ring the bell for 10 minutes.